Hi. Hi, everyone. It's amazing to be here, and I'm hoping my slides come up quickly. So I'm Rose, and I'm going to be here today to talk to you about how to influence people and make friends. Essentially, what I'm going to be here to talk to you about is travel demand management and travel behaviour change, and the critical part that this hugely important topic now plays in how we're going to create and build those sustainable futures that we all want to be in. And travel demand management is a really kind of system-led thinking of doing something that's really, really difficult, which is influencing people, changing behaviours, having conversations with people that resonate enough for them to think about what they're doing, how they're acting, and what their actions are. So let's see where we are now in terms of travel demand management and travel behaviour. We're not really going in the right direction currently. So if you just look at the small article there, small electric cars said to be the future, but SUVs now rule the road. And then if you look at the really interesting kind of like dialogue that's underneath there, think about those motivators, think about what the article's telling you, is that higher profit margins are made building SUVs. And of course, there's going to be system thinking in those organisations as to how they can increase profits. Now, that's maybe not thinking about it from a sustainability or a carbon perspective, but it's a really, really important a factor, a conversational point I want you to keep in your heads as we move through this presentation today, where you start to think about where does the power lie? Where does the change lie? Because I'm going to keep reflecting that back to you. Now, on the right-hand side, there's a very real graph that we're grappling with here in TEDxUoChester as a borough, which is where are car levels, where's public transport use, where's cycling use across the borough. And part P&R, there's park and ride, so you can see 100%, and then we dip into that COVID pandemic. We fall into the abyss of very little movement, but look at that bounce back. And in TEDxUoChester, bus trips have not got back to pre-COVID levels. Trips on the park and ride have not returned back. Cycling trips are down, but the car trips have gone up. And there's lots of reasons behind that, really, really important reasons and demographic reasons as to why. So concessionaires, so older people are not coming to they haven't come back to travel by bus. They're still scared of the health implications. They're still worried. Their travel habits have changed. Their social habits have changed. So actually, while car mileage has gone up, bus trips have come down. And what does that mean for you, for me, and for the future from a sustainability perspective? We need to really, really drive those trips up, because if you don't use it, you lose it. So within the role that I do, I can really, really push for funding to get better public transport provision made, but I can only do that if there are people using those services. So it's this horribly vicious circle where everything's a race to the bottom. Less people use the service gets withdrawn, then of course no one's going to use it. And then that reliability, that confidence, that journey that you thought you could make there, you think, no, actually, I'll invest in a car. And this circle and circle and circle goes right down to the bottom. So there are more, so, active travel, if you haven't got a network, if you feel unsafe, are you going to walk or cycle? So there's lots of barriers to good travel behaviour change, moving towards that sustainable future that we're looking at. But I'll just give you a quick figure. So if we want to be net zero by 2035 in TEDxUoChester, we need to take 161,833 vehicles off the road by 2035. That's approximately 50% of every single trip made by car that happened today. So that's 2035. So quite a stretch target. So how are we going to get there? How are we going to do this? How are we going to effectively look at the emissions from transport and move to that brilliant, accessible, sustainable future that we want to get to? Well, in terms of those trips, who do you think is responsible for that? Whose decision is it? Who's there? Who's got the power in this one? And I was posed this question at a dinner I was at, and they said, climate change, whose responsibility is it? Who's got the greatest power in this? And I went backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Oh, it's me. No, it's them. So working through local government. So from a transport perspective, local government are superbly important in this conversation. They can provide the options. They can bid for money. They can lobby for investment in active travel. They can lobby for investment in bus. They can plan for brilliant places. They can do wonderful placemaking so that you can walk or cycle to your local amenities. They play a really critical role. National government set the policy agenda. Again, really, really critically important in this whole conversation, because national government can say, no pavement parking. Let's do more low traffic neighbourhoods. Let's look at how you set speed limits. Let's look at all of these different factors from a national level that might support more people walking and cycling because it feels safer to do so. Let's look at bus patronage, and let's look at investment in bus to have higher frequencies of better services, serving neighbourhoods where fewer people own or can own cars, and let's get them to the place they want to get to. Because this whole topic, transport isn't about mode. Transport is connecting people to where they want to go. So for education, for employment, for social cohesion, for all of those amazing things, the things that you do day in, day out. So national government, of course, they've got a massive role. Private sector? Oh, goodness, yes. Back to the slide on the SUV. Well, we can make better profits from doing that, so we're going to push more and advertise it better and sell it as a dream, as a status. They're really, really influencing. And private sector have got a big voice, and they've got a listen-to voice. They're private sector. They get in the ear of people. So they have a huge part to play in this. Third sector advocacy groups can really spotlight an issue. They can draw attention to it. They play a wonderful part, good and bad actually, in terms of what agenda's heard by who. Activists, of course. They can really kind of spotlight, draw attention, call things out. They can shout for the underdog, because lots of the time decision makers can only hear one voice, one type of voice when they're making decisions. Global organisations, but let's just reflect. You. Where are you in all of this? And we'll finish on where I think you are, but actually, you've got a huge part to play. So, I'm going to take you on a little journey. I'm going to take you around the world in some travel demand management programs. So this slide we used to great effect on the London Olympics, and I used to scare the willies out of people by saying, if you don't plan your transport or know what you're doing, this is what we're going to be faced with. Of course, this never happened because we were immaculately planned and everybody did what we asked, but that was only because we put in place an absolutely crystal clear, wonderfully executed travel demand management strategy. 10.8 million ticketed spectators come into a city of over 8 million people. And this is actually the torch relay in Beijing. And if I can get a laser to work here, there's the torchbearer down here. So a bit of a tricky route out. But images like this, these are great catalysts for change, aren't they? These are brilliant burning platforms. These are fantastically, good ways of starting a conversation on travel behaviour change, because if you don't do this and listen to me and do what I say, this could be how we end up. But you very rarely have situations like that to be able to use. But I'll show you where we did use them. And the other thing about travel behaviour change is it's really hard currently. I had a conversation with a friend and they said, oh, God, getting someone to use a bus, it's like saying, go and use an old phone box, go out in the cold and the dark with a 10p piece, remembering a number to ring someone you don't know if they're in because you can't message them before. Then you've got to get home, and it's like you're selling that versus the smartphone, which is, you sat in bed watching a TEDx talk, ordering your pizza, and you're trying to kind of get people to use that red phone box when actually they've all got a smartphone. So, there's air-conditioned comfort cars that can play the music you want and get you there in a quarter of the time that perhaps that bus currently does. But there is a way of doing this, and there's a way collectively we can all play a massive part in how things change going forward. Because I flippantly put in, you're not sat in traffic, you are traffic. The number of people who come to me and say, the traffic was so bad, and they don't see themselves in that car that's in that queue, on that road, at that time of day, that's not using a different route, a different mode, a different time, or thinking about not making that journey. But travel behaviour change and travel demand management can't just be led by, oh, I hope someone does something really good. I hope somebody does the right thing. It has to absolutely start with how your network works and managing that network. It's a really, really physical thing. Road reallocation, so you've got your bus lanes. Where's your cycle lanes? Are they LTM 120 compliant, which means that they're segregated and feel a lot safer. So behaviour change alone will never result in enough modal shift to balance your transport network, but managing the network, creating capacity, and changing that behaviour through influencing absolutely does. And when you've done all of that, because everything is data-led here, where are people travelling? When are they travelling? How are they travelling? Where are they travelling? When you've got all of that information, you create a core narrative, you create an absolutely systematic way that you want to talk to people. And the minute you deviate off that, then it's unsuccessful. So it's always, always, always data-led. But then you've got to get that message, you've got to get what you need people to do out systematically through the right channels. Get the right advice to the right people at the right time in the right way. How would I have influenced you today to travel differently? What would I have told you? How could I have supported you? How would I have got that message to you? What would you have listened to? And importantly, what's your motivation? Is it carbon? Are you interested in reducing your carbon emissions? Are you so pressed for time that you think to yourself, oh my God, I can't do anything else but that? Is it health? Or is cost that factor for you? Yesterday, I came to the campus on my bike. And I came because it was a beautiful sunny day. I hadn't moved from behind my desk. I needed to get myself moving, so there was a health element for me. And it was 7 minutes if I cycled, 8 minutes by car. Time, health, it was free, and I emitted no carbon. And I thought, yeah, great. Now this morning, I had a very early meeting in person, quite a long way away, so I had to go by car because I wouldn't have got here on time. So I made those changes, and I made those choices based on my fundamental principles. And you will all be different. And think about how you chose to travel here today and why you made those decisions. And that's what you have to really be clear on. Now, in the London Olympics, when you're talking to angry Londoners who, 3 minutes to wait for a tube is far too much, we use time as our main sort of, driver for change. So this was London Bridge Station, predicted delays if no one made any changes to their journeys. And if you decided to travel on Friday the 3rd of August at 5:30, blooming it, you'd have to wait longer than 30 minutes for a tube. Poof, no chance. Oh, great, I've got your attention. What would you like to do instead? Did you know that cycling was quicker? Or did you know if you use the Hammersmith and City line over here, it'd be nice and quiet? All data-led, absolutely data-led. All of this had acres of fantastic forecasting. And then what we did was we moved that information into a really, really easy to consume format, and we used above, through and below the line communication channels. So cycling, so modal cycling, quicker, time, during the games. Here's your dates. It's not forever, it's just for 11 days, or 11-day transition, or 17 days for the Paralympics. You edged it into time. It's not forever. You don't have to do this forever. But look at who we had to get together behind that. We had the Mayor of London, National Rail, Department for Transport, Highways Agency, Transport for London. All of those agencies had to come together to push this message out, to try to create that behaviour change. Now, again, we put this through every conceivable, consumable format. And I mean, look, this feels really dated, actually, standing here talking to you today, because I've got Twitter. I don't think I'm allowed to say that. So Twitter on here, we had journey planners, we had maps, we had posters, we had leaflets, we had every single consumable way to get this single message out. How do we help you choose how you're going to move? Glasgow Games, we didn't have to do things much differently from the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, so this was all for the commuters. Public transport's going to be busy. You might want to think about a different way. The games are on their way. Get ready, start planning. So this was very much for commuters. For spectators, we said, you will travel in this way to this venue, and this is how long it's going to take you. So we influenced in one, and we really, really kind of went hard on the other group. Again, we knew our audiences, and we knew how to get that message and that information in. Now, just moving very quickly to Sydney before I wrap up with some messages of power and where you are in all of this. When we worked in Sydney, it was the light rail they were building down George Street, and they were going to take a lot of road capacity up. So again, on a data-led way, we thought, well, who's using the road space and what percentage of people are they carrying? What's the most efficient way? And using this knowledge, we then developed our campaign to move more people onto public transport and to get in earlier and later into the central business district. All of these campaigns were led by data. All of these campaigns had burning platforms. They essentially had great catalysts for change. Different things were happening. For us here today, we have climate change. We are constantly talked about it. It's there on the back of our minds. But is it a big enough catalyst for change? Well, not currently, not from the first slide you saw. So we need to think about where we all are in this conversation, because currently it's you who has the power. If you use a bus service that becomes profitable and commercial, more are put on. If you want to use a bike lane or you want something seen, talk to your local authority, get your voice heard. But you have the power to influence what's put on, where and by who. And you have the power to make those decisions, to change how you're looking at travel and how you're arriving at places. But essentially today, I just wanted to talk about the fact that, that 35, the zero emission or net zero target by 2035 is not going to happen with the siren call of technology and the promise of electric vehicles. It's going to happen by all of you just making small changes to what you do and how you do it. Thank you very much.